is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
It is 5 o'clock here on your Wednesday. Good morning to you. I'm Lauren Casey. Here is what's making headlines on this July 22nd. After two deadly shootings on the downtown Canal, Mayor Joe Hogsett and IMPD are conducting their first public safety walk since the pandemic began. This morning, their effort to address the violence and how you can participate. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is adding more restrictions to the Indy 500, what we know about the latest guidelines, and the new crowd limits. And the COVID-19 outbreak has hit the restaurant industry hard across the country. We talked to one Greenfield restaurant that had to make a tough decision to close for good. But before we get to those top stories, we first need to get a check of your Storm Team 6 forecast with Todd Clausen standing by from home. And Todd, it is an active radar behind you, still raining here in the downtown area.
Yeah, a lot of heavy rainfall this morning too, Lauren, across the area to go along with a little bit of thunder and lightning. We're kind of losing a lot of the thunder and lightning as these storms move off to the east, so that is good news, but there's still a little bit out there. Here's a live look at Storm Team 6 radar, and we'll come right into the metro area, and you see all those oranges and reds. That's some really, really heavy rainfall that is taking place down into Mooresville, Greenwood, over towards Greenfield. Here's what's left of pretty much the lightning moving through Hope, Indiana right now. It's going to come close to Greensburg. Nothing severe there, but obviously the lightning makes every storm dangerous. And then some heavier rain in Martinsville with one lightning strike there, and we'll slide a little further down to the south. And there's some good amount of lightning moving here into the Bedford area as well, down towards Mitchell. And this is going to continue to move off towards the east, this entire complex of storms. Once that goes through, we should get a break here mid-morning through mid-afternoon. But you look off to the west, and more storms will be heading in our direction later on today, as it's just a very unsettled Wednesday for us. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s right now, Lauren. Highs this afternoon back up into the mid-80s.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. And let's take a look at those wet roads. You're going to run into this for your commute if you're heading out there at this hour. I-465, a view a little west of Emerson Avenue. You can see all the rain on our camera, the wet roads out there. So watch for ponding and take it easy as you're out there on the interstates and on side streets today. We'll continue to keep an eye out for any crashes or delays this morning. And of course, we'll keep you updated. It is 5:03 today. The mayor of Indianapolis and the police chief will lead their first public safety walk since the start of this pandemic, and it's going to be in a high-profile area. Our Alyssa Donovan is live downtown this morning with all the details. Alyssa, good morning.
Good morning, Lauren. The mayor and the police chief will be doing their walk right here along the canal this afternoon, and this is in response to some violence that has been happening here the past and recent weeks. Now, there are growing concerns about safety along the canal in downtown Indianapolis after more violence at the popular attraction. It comes after two separate fatal shootings along the canal in recent weeks. One shooting left a 23-year-old woman dead. Another, a 14-year-old boy, was shot and killed when he allegedly tried to rob someone. People we talked to say they will not stop enjoying the canal, but they're more alert.
It's scary, and we have to be careful what time we're out and about and what areas we're in. It's just being a little bit more aware.
And the public is encouraged to attend the walk today. If you participate, you're asked to wear a mask. And the walk along the canal downtown starts at 4 o'clock this afternoon near the Colts Play Space. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV 6.
Alyssa, thank you. The time right now is 5:04. A father has been arrested after being accused of killing his own son. Now Indianapolis police are searching for the 10-year-old boy's remains. IMPD arrested 37-year-old Anthony DeBaya on Monday for his alleged involvement in the disappearance and death of his son Dakota Kelly. Officers found a crime scene at a home on Westlake South Drive, that is. It's on Indy's west side on Sunday. Neither DeBaya nor his son were found there. Based on the evidence inside the home, though, police believe that Dakota was killed. Court documents say that DeBaya made at least 2 phone calls to 2 people over the weekend, allegedly admitting to Dakota's death. In one of the calls, DeBaya asked if he could borrow a suitcase and said he suffocated his son with a bag. The Missouri State Highway Patrol located DeBaya on Sunday with his vehicle in the middle of Missouri. IMPD detectives went there to follow up on the investigation and arrested DeBaya. He is currently charged with murder. IMPD detectives are still searching for Dakota Kelly's remains at this hour. If you know anything about that case or if you saw anything, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 317-262-TIPS. It's 5:05 and Indiana's COVID-19 numbers are continuing to increase. Nearly 58,000 COVID-19 cases have been reported throughout the state since the pandemic began. The State Department of Health is confirming 734 new cases and 20 new deaths on Tuesday. That is up from 3 deaths reported on Monday. 2,652 total deaths have been confirmed in Indiana. More than 644,000 Hoosiers have been tested for the virus so far. 9% of those tests have come back positive. And due to our increasing number of cases, Indiana is one of 10 states being added to New York's mandatory quarantine list. If you do travel to New York State from Indiana, you are required to self-quarantine for 14 days and provide contact information to local officials. Business travel is exempt. For the first time since April, President Donald Trump updated the nation on the pandemic, saying it's likely going to get worse before it gets better. He also said he would be okay with the possibility of more funding to increase testing, and he encouraged Americans to mask up.
We're asking everybody that when you are not able to socially distance, wear a mask, get a mask. Whether you like the mask or not, they have an impact, they'll have an effect, and we need everything we can get.
This time, the president presented without his task force health experts, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, who he said was not invited. This morning, IMS leaders will reveal more details about the plans for next month's Indy 500. The track announcing attendance for the race will now be at only 25% of capacity. That's about 60,000 people. That's reduced from the 50% limit announced back in June. Some other changes at this year's race: face coverings will be required, and ticket sales will stop after this Friday to further limit the crowd. Today's news conference is set for 11 a.m. You can look for details on our website. We'll have more as well coming up on the news at noon. The 104th running of the Indianapolis 500 is scheduled for Sunday, August 23rd. Well, almost every small business here in Indiana had to shut their doors temporarily because of mandates put in place at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. And a lot of restaurants are still working to climb back out of that hole, and others are having to shut their doors permanently. This morning, our Kelsey Anderson joins us from Greenfield with a story of a local business that can't survive post-pandemic.
Florida Cracker Barbecue is a small family-owned restaurant in Greenfield. Their walls filled with memories of their past, loved ones, and customers trying to leave their mark. And now they are having to close this chapter of their life story. Jeffrey Clifford runs the restaurant his dad opened nearly 8 years ago and says the impact the coronavirus response has had on their business is too much for them to overcome.
We lost maybe 85% of our business in 2 weeks. We're small. So our business model has always relied on catering and bulk events. And without that aspect, with the small gatherings, no gatherings of more than 10, then 25, then 50, that's probably 40 to 50% of our annual budget gone.
Clifford says while his dad was reading the comments under their Facebook post about the closure, he said it felt like reading his own obituary. And they won't forget the support they had from the Hancock County community. They plan to be open until the end of August, and they want to thank anyone who's been in here in the last 8 years. In Greenfield, Kelsey Anderson, RTV 6.
Kelsey, thank you. The time right now is 5:09. While many companies are laying off workers or closing, as you saw there, a longtime Indiana company is announcing a major expansion in the hiring of more than 200 people. Palmer Trucks is a family-owned truck sales, parts, and service provider. They announced plans to purchase the former Celadon Group facility on Indy's east side to create a Kenworth of Indianapolis East. It will be a training center, warehouse, and body shop, and also a dealership.
It has been an unprecedented 4 months, and we are proud of our family for making this investment in our people and our business. We are thankful for the past 4 months that we did not lay anybody off. We stood by our people in order to support our customers.
The company expects the new location to be fully operational this fall. They're looking to hire diesel technicians, sales, and logistics employees. You can find more information on our website. Just go to hiringhoosiers.com. At 5:10, let's toss things over to Todd for a look at our Wednesday forecast. Hey, Todd.
Hey, good morning, Lauren. It's pretty wet here to start our day off on this Wednesday across parts of the area. I know to the north you're not seeing much in the way of rainfall, but really from Hamilton County southward, we've been having a very active morning. I know I got woken up around 11:30 last night with some storms moving through, and this was the next round that is now making its way through the area. The heaviest of the cell is down here, pushing now towards the Greensburg area. This is where we have a little bit of lightning, as you see, but as we come back up to the north into the metro area, no lightning at this point. That's fallen apart, just some plain old rain. Then as we slide up to the north, you can see the cutoff here. Tipton, you haven't seen much in the way of rainfall, but Noblesville and Anderson still raining for you. So as you get going, you'll continue to have the umbrella handy for the next couple hours, but by about 7, 8 o'clock, it's nothing more than a spot shower or two, and then eventually highs today with some sunshine anywhere from 83 to about 88 degrees, but we will see additional storms this afternoon. More on that coming up in Maine weather when Good Morning Indiana continues. Stay with us. We're back in just a couple minutes.
It is 5:14. Welcome back. President Trump is moving to take undocumented immigrants out of this year's census. He signed a presidential memorandum saying that they should not be counted because of how the census will redraw congressional districts. Trump says the order will protect the rule of law and integrity of the democratic process. Last year, the Supreme Court blocked the president from asking about citizenship on the census. This memorandum will also be challenged in court. Pharmaceutical and Technology companies are working to develop coronavirus vaccines, and they spoke about their progress to Congress on Tuesday. Many say that they're on course to have a vaccine by this year's end or by early next year, and AstraZeneca says it could have one ready potentially as early as September. Reid Binion has the latest.
I would not wait to see if one was better than another.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, saying Americans should get the coronavirus vaccine as soon as one becomes available. How soon that could be was the topic of discussion between lawmakers and pharmaceutical and biotech executives at a Tuesday hearing.
We're pursuing 2 promising vaccines.
We have a line of sight and a clear critical path.
This as President Trump gave his first coronavirus briefing since April, changing his tone on testing.
If the doctors and the professionals feel that even though we're at a level that nobody ever dreamt possible, that they would like to do more, I'm okay with it.
Negotiations have ramped up in recent days on whether to include money for testing in the next round of stimulus, with the White House and Senate Republicans divided on the details of the proposal.
As it's written right now, I'm not only a no, I'm a hell no.
This amid a shortage of testing supplies recently and major delays in getting results, even though lawmakers estimate that between $7 and $8 billion in allocated funding hasn't been spent. Presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden slamming Trump's handling of the crisis.
This man simply doesn't understand. You know, he's quit on you, and he's quit on this country.
I'm Reid Binion reporting.
At 5:16, as we're learning more about the lifespan of the coronavirus antibodies, it has some questioning how long a vaccine would protect against that infection. Right now, researchers are finding that COVID antibodies have a half-life of 73 days. So that means half of the antibodies that your body makes will disappear after that. However, your cells do develop memory, so they know how to make those again. So if someone did become infected by the coronavirus months after being vaccinated, the infection would likely be very mild. At 5:16, we want to check in with Todd as we have an active radar this morning. Todd, what do people need to know? A lot of people may be waking up to some of these storms in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, the first thing you need to know, nothing severe out there here this morning. I know we had some warnings yesterday afternoon, including that one tornado warning. So none of this is severe, but obviously lightning makes every storm dangerous. The lightning, though, has kind of fallen off as this cluster of storms has moved off towards the east. There's a little bit out there still on the southern flank of this storm system. But for the most part, this is some very heavy rainfall, and it's really coming down now over in Greenfield, north towards Pendleton, into Anderson, Knightstown, over towards Newcastle. You're about to get into some pretty heavy rainfall. We'll slide down to the south, and there's a few lightning strikes there near Greensburg, as you see, and then there's a few more down towards the Bedford area in Mitchell, making its way now to the northeast towards Lake Monroe, and then it's going to move into southern portions of Brown County as well, and then we'll slide to the north. Some light rain now falling from Spencer to Danville with the back edge near Greencastle. This wave of rain will move through, but as we've seen so far the past 20 24 to 36 hours, we have several waves that are out there. This is the one that came through around midnight. We're dealing with the one currently, and then there's more rain here off towards the south, and they're all just moving right along a stationary front that's draped right across the state of Indiana. So while this front is around, we'll see some waves of rain like we have been seeing, but we'll also have the opportunity to pick up some isolated storms. What's going to happen here throughout the day is the wave of rain and clouds we're dealing with right now will move off to the east. I think we get into some sunshine mid-morning into the early afternoon, and then with that sunshine will flare up additional thunderstorms across parts of the area. Today's one of those days. I think you definitely want to have the umbrella handy in the car if you're running some errands, because some of these storms could pop up pretty quickly later on this afternoon. As far as the severe threat, can't rule out the chance of an isolated warning. The greatest threat today will be the potential for damaging wind. You see in the green on the left side of your screen, that is the marginal risk for severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. 70 right now in Indy, 71 in Bloomington. Throughout the day today with the showers and storms, temperatures will be climbing up into the low to mid 80s. So temperature-wise, we were pretty seasonable for this time of year. But the weather pattern still remains unsettled. We're back to TrueCast now. This is taking us into the day tomorrow. I don't think tomorrow's rain chances are probably as high as they are today, but still just a little bit unsettled in the forecast. But once we get past tomorrow, this lingering front should move out of the way, and that should set us up for a pretty nice stretch of weather for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with plenty of sunshine. Just a small chance of a stray storm and temperatures that will be in the 80s, and then eventually by Sunday, Lauren, into the 90s.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at your roads right now. We know they're wet around central Indiana, so here's a look at them. I-465 and West 71st Street. Traffic is starting to pick up a little bit here, and you can see all of the water and the ponding there on the interstate. So just use caution as you're heading out the door this Wednesday morning. We'll keep you updated if there are any major delays to slow down your commute, but everything in this area on the northwest side is traveling up to speed. Hotels are now some of the major businesses requiring customers to wear masks in public spaces. Big chains like Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, they are all mandating face masks and social distancing. They also outlined protocols for contactless reservations, check-ins, and room service. Marriott's CEO says that his company's new safety procedures will go into effect on Monday. Walmart says it will be closed this Thanksgiving, and it's giving bonuses to its frontline workers. The mega retailer says full-time hourly associates get $300 bonus on August 20th. Part-time associates will get $150. Walmart says the bonuses come during the unprecedented time, and the associates have worked at an incredible pace. This is the third special bonus for Walmart employees this year. The company says closing on Thanksgiving will also allow workers to spend the holiday with their loved ones. Stores have been open in the past years for early Black Friday sales. Amazon is also postponing its Prime Day sale due to the pandemic. The massive online deals normally take place mid-July, and they last for 2 days. Amazon says they'll hold the day later than usual to ensure the safety of employees and selling partners. The company says it will share more details soon. During the lockdowns, Americans have been spending big on big televisions. Researchers with the NPD group found that people are buying TVs at levels usually seen during the holiday season. So far this year, sales of 65-inch TVs or larger were up 53%. NPD says the technology has helped keep people busy and entertained while being stuck at home during the pandemic. Soundbars, streaming players, and mounts have also seen a surge in sales. Your next socially distant gathering could be a lot simpler with one company's new offering. How you can get Cheez-Its latest party pairing just after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. So a popular snack food brand is pairing its crackers with wine for a favorite summer combo. Starting today, you can order boxed wine and a Cheez-It combo online. It includes rosé and white cheddar crackers. Cheez-It says that the white cheddar flavor is a fan favorite, and it calls the crisp rosé an unofficial wine of summer. The rosé is from a company called Original House Wine. It comes in a box pairing for $29.99, and it's just in time for National Wine and Cheese Day, which is this Saturday. Seems a little steep for boxed wine, Todd, but I don't know, maybe it's good. I won't knock it till I try it.
Right? I know. I like the white cheddar Cheez-Its, but I still like the originals better.
Yeah.
And this, you know, so and then same with Pringles. They have all those new flavors, and I just like the old school barbecue, sour cream, and onion, and the original. So, all right, outside or right now. We're dealing with quite a bit of rainfall making its way through central Indiana. This rain continues to make its way off towards the east. We've lost a lot of the lightning. That's the good news here this morning. None of this is severe, but you can see all this heavy rainfall that is present across the area. And this wave of rain will move through, and then eventually as we get into the middle half of the morning, I do think we see some sunshine in the forecast as I give you a little bit of a tour of where the rain is falling across the area. What you don't see much more, with the exception of a few strikes down here, is lightning. So this is basically now just a rain event as it streams off towards the east, but more storms off to our west across southern portions of Illinois. So just have the umbrella handy if you're going to be out and about, but there are a lot of dry hours today as well, as high temperatures will be climbing up into the mid-80s, making for a seasonable afternoon.
Todd, thank you. Multiple students on Purdue's campus have tested positive for COVID-19. Just ahead here on Good Morning Indiana, how the university plans to keep that from spreading. We'll be right back.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Now at 5:30 on Good Morning Indiana, city leaders addressing safety concerns along the downtown canal in Indianapolis. We're live previewing the event, highlighting new steps aimed at keeping you and your family safe.
And the coronavirus pandemic continues to impact businesses all across the country. Working for you, we're talking to one Greenfield business owner about the decision to permanently close. But first, here at 5:30, I want to welcome you into Good Morning Indiana. It is Wednesday. We're halfway through the work week. I'm Lauren Casey, and Rafael Sanchez joining us now from his home in Johnson County. Rafael, is it raining where you are? It's been raining here at the studio downtown.
It is still raining here. Heard the thunder this morning at 4:30. Did not need an alarm clock. And Todd Clausen, since we are working from home, the station gave us these big, huge surge protectors. Turn that on just in case the bosses are awake this morning because, of course, of the lightning and the thunder in the area. So luckily, all power is on this morning.
Yeah, you know, it's always a good idea to have those surge protectors for when lightning moves through. You never know when you're going to lose power. Thankfully, the lightning has kind of tailed off here now. That is the good news. This is kind of transitioned from thunderstorms into just plain old rain for much of central Indiana. The view from downtown off to the west, I was watching the lightning earlier this morning approach downtown Indianapolis, and then we got into the heavy rainfall. As we go over to Storm Team 6 radar, you can see there's still some brighter colors here in the metro area over towards Greenwood, and then as we slide down a little bit further to the south, this was where we had the last remaining lightning near Hope and Greensburg. That has basically started to come to an end. As we slide a little further to the north, a little bit of heavy rainfall from Markville to Shirley down towards Knightstown. So this is really impacting I-70 now, basically from Indianapolis all the way to Richmond, so give yourself some extra time there. Martinsville to Nashville, we're dealing with some decent rainfall, and then as we slide down to the south, most of the lightning is basically getting closer to the Louisville area on the southern flank of this band of rain moving through. This is the first of what will be several rounds of storms today. We'll talk about the timing for the rest of them coming up in just a few minutes. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Let's take a look at traffic right now as you're heading out there on the roads. They are wet, as you can see here at I-65 and County Line Road on the south side. Traffic is picking up in both the northbound and southbound direction. A heads up if you are a south side driver this morning and usually take I-65 for your commute. Just a reminder to you that we do have construction now at the Southport Road exit. The on-ramp is blocked from Southport Road hopping onto northbound I-65. That's a long-term closure. That is newer. It's going to last through December. So keep that in mind. You can always use Emerson Avenue to get down here to County Line Road and get on the interstate that way. And of course, we'll continue to keep you updated. So just be safe out there with all of the rain moving through. Rafael.
So in the news this morning, safety on the downtown Indianapolis Canal. The recent uptick in violence along that waterway drew the presence of more police officers, more patrols in that area. Now, the mayor and the police chief, they plan to make a point. Alyssa Donovan is live along the canal with the very latest. Alyssa, good morning.
Good morning, Raphael. And today they are going to be doing, the mayor and the police chief are going to be doing a public safety walk. This is something that typically they do once a month. They've been doing them since 2017, but those have stopped since the coronavirus pandemic. So this will be the first one in quite some time. The goal of these public safety walks is to really interact with the public and with businesses in those areas. And the reason they are doing that on the Canal today is because there has been an uptick in violence, specifically 2 crimes that caught the attention of the public. 2 different shootings happened here in the Canal in recent weeks. One of those was a 24-year-old woman, and a separate incident, a 14-year-old boy was shot and killed. And we did talk to some people along the Canal about what they think about the violence.
I always consciously or subconsciously kind of take a quick inventory, because you're down here, right? It's not like you're up high and people can see you. So I always, especially when with my wife, I always like to try to get a feel for things.
And recently they also announced that they are going to be putting in surveillance cameras along the Canal to increase some security. And then we also know that with this public safety walk, they are asking the public to participate. If you want to participate, it's happening today along the Canal at 4 o'clock. The mayor and the police chief are meeting at 4 o'clock near the Colts Play space. That's between St. Clair and Walnut Street. You are asked, if you do join the walk today, that you do wear a mask. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. It is 5:35 this morning. Call 6 Investigates confirms the city's request of federal oversight in the Dragan Reid case is not expected to kick in, if at all, until a special prosecutor concludes her investigation and a 3-person panel releases its findings by December. Lawyers representing Dragan Reid's family have called on the Department of Justice to have the FBI investigate that case. Reid was shot and killed by IMPD officer DeJour Mercer back in May after a vehicle and a foot chase. IMPD claims that Reid fired a weapon at Officer Mercer, who then exchanged gunfire, fatally wounding Reid. The weapon was found lying next to Reid's body after the shooting. Attorneys for Reid's family say the surveillance video we shared last month is evidence that Reid was not holding a gun at the time. The video shows Reid running from a car with what appears to be a white t-shirt in one hand and 2 cell phones in the other. Now, we can tell you that the law firm of Fatima Johnson, the Reid family attorney, released a statement on Tuesday criticizing Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett. We want to share a small portion of that. It says, quote, accordingly, it came as no surprise to hear that the Department of Justice is not involved in this case at all, end quote. And you can read that full statement in this story. It's on our website, theindychannel.com. We have reached out to the mayor's office for a response. We have not yet heard back. Raphael.
Lauren, now to the latest on the COVID-19 pandemic. Cases of the virus are showing an uptick in our state. Here's a look at the numbers. The State Department of Health reports that 734 new cases of the coronavirus in our state. That's 76 more new cases than reported on Monday. In total, 57,916 people in Indiana have been diagnosed with COVID-19. There are 20 new coronavirus deaths that were reported, 17 more than the previous day. So far, 2,652 Hoosiers have died from COVID-19. More than 644,000 people in our state have been tested for the virus, 9% tested positive.
And today, Governor Eric Holcomb will give an update on the state of the pandemic here in Indiana in his weekly news conference. We did take some questions to him during an unrelated event on Tuesday, asking him whether he plans to tighten restrictions. Here's what he had to say.
I don't want to mislead anyone. I'm not going to take anything off the table. You mentioned California, New York, Florida, Texas, who are seeing these, surges. When it makes sense to move forward or to stand still or to roll back, we will.
Indiana is in stage 4.5 of reopening currently, and that will last through at least the end of the month. Again, we are set to learn more about what's next during the governor's briefing that will be held this afternoon. You can look for updates right here on RTV6 and also on the RTV6 News app.
Vice President Mike Pence will be back in the Hoosier State on Friday. Mr. Pence and Second Lady Karen Pence will visit Marian University here in Indianapolis to discuss safely reopening schools not only in our state but across the country. Now, during a visit to South Carolina, Mr. Pence said to open up America again, we need to open up schools. He went on to say the risk to children of getting COVID-19 is, in his words, low, while there are, quote, real costs to students not being in the classroom. The Second Lady, who's a part-time art teacher, indicated that she's returning to the classroom in the fall. But she says rather than teaching in her own classroom, she'll be moving with a cart from room to room to keep kids safer.
At 5:38, almost every small business in Indiana had to shut their doors temporarily because of mandates put in place at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. This morning, our Kelsey Anderson joins us from Greenfield with the story of a local business that can't survive post-pandemic. Kelsey.
Blood, sweat, tears, and knickknacks have filled this family-owned restaurant for the last 8 years. But now, because of the impact of the coronavirus, they're having to close their doors.
Reading all of the social media stuff, my dad said that it was like reading his own obituary.
Earlier this week, Jeffrey Clifford announced on Facebook Florida Cracker Barbecue would be closing its doors permanently in August.
To see this close is not what any of us wanted. I feel like we've done everything we can to stay open. You know, we've gone from 15 or so employees down to about 4, and I've been working, 80 hours a week just to try to keep us alive.
Clifford has been running the restaurant his dad opened nearly 8 years ago, and he says it's hard to see it go.
I mean, my daughter was the first customer back before I thought I would come back into the business at all. The hog on the wall I killed when I was 9. My dad's first restaurant pictures are over there. I've got pictures of my grandparents on the wall that have deceased, my brother's on the wall. And so it's tough to see it go, but at the same time, we know that it's the right timing for it.
He tells me the impact of the governor's mandated shutdown plus the restrictions on gatherings have been severe, especially for this small town business that relies on big catering orders.
Our daily business is fine. Throughout COVID, we've actually maintained our daily level of sales except for those first couple of weeks. It's just, you lose a third of the business segment, and it's, we're margin, our profit margins are in the pennies, and we've lost quarters.
They plan to be open until the end of August, and they want to thank anyone who's been in here in the last 8 years. In Greenfield, Kelsey Anderson, RTV 6.
All right, Kelsey, Greenfield getting some pretty good rainfall here this morning, as are many other locations across central Indiana. The good news is many of you from Indianapolis to the west were awoken probably with some thunder and seeing the lightning. That has basically fallen off. We're basically only dealing with some heavy rainfall right now, with the heaviest of the rain being here over on the eastern side of the state, Richmond to Winchester, back towards Newcastle. And then as we work our way further down to the south, we're dealing with some heavy rainfall moving into Nashville as well as Columbus. This wave of rain will go through. We'll get some sunshine. It's not the best pool day. Temperatures definitely warm enough, climbing up into the low 80s, but we'll have to be on the lookout for some additional storms to flare up later on this afternoon. Some of those could be spot severe. We'll talk about that and look ahead to your weekend forecast coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues here in just a couple minutes. Stay with us. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. This morning, police in Chicago investigating a mass shooting that happened outside of a funeral home. Police say that people inside a black vehicle began shooting at people attending a funeral, and then the people attending the funeral began and returned gunfire. At least 14 people were injured last night. One person of interest is being interviewed by police. The mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, took to Twitter just hours ago, firing off a series of tweets condemning the violence and asking anyone with information to come forward. Now, this shooting comes as the Department of Homeland Security is planning to deploy dozens of federal agents to Chicago to deal with the violent crime in that city. Lauren?
In Raphael Greenfield this morning out in Colorado. The city of Aurora is launching an investigation into the death of Elijah McClain. That 23-year-old was stopped by officers last August while he was walking home after they received a call about a suspicious person. He was placed in a chokehold by officers and injected with ketamine by medics and died 3 days later. Independent consultants will conduct this investigation into the incident. Colorado's Attorney General is conducting a separate investigation, and federal officials are weighing a possible civil rights probe. And in Minnesota, the 4 former police officers accused of killing George Floyd appeared in a courtroom on Tuesday. Derek Chauvin, J. Alexander King, Thomas Lane, and Tuto went before a judge for a motion hearing. Chauvin appeared via video conference while the other 3 were inside a courtroom. The judge lifted a gag order against the defendants and attorneys in that case. He will rule on other motions related to the trial in the coming days. Just hours before that hearing, the Minnesota State House passed a police reform bill. It includes a ban on chokeholds, more training on crisis intervention, and cultural bias. There's also a provision to incentivize police officers to live in the communities where they work. Officers will also now have a duty to intervene if they see a fellow officer doing something illegal.
A petition calling for justice in the Breonna Taylor case has hit 10 million signatures on change.org. It is now the second largest petition of its kind in the website's history, only to be topped by the petition demanding justice for George Floyd in Minnesota. As you may recall, Taylor was shot and killed by Louisville officers back in March who were serving a no-knock warrant. The petition seeks charges against the officers involved in that shooting, damages as well for Taylor's family, and as well as a federal no-knock warrant ban. Laura Lee Hojay, a law student from New York City who's never been to Kentucky, is behind the petition. She says she wanted to make a difference.
I think people absolutely can make a difference. I mean, I think that when you're an individual, it doesn't feel like much, but once all of our voices come together, the impact that can be made is huge. I know that I definitely intend to continue until there is some sort of justice and accountability for Breonna.
Laura Lee also helped launch a new advocacy tool. It's called callforbreonna.com. The website allows anyone, anywhere, to quickly call Kentucky lawmakers, the governor, as well as the attorney general.
This morning, State House Democrats here are asking for Governor Holcomb to call a special session to address issues they say cannot wait until lawmakers return to session in January. Issues regarding racial justice and the COVID-19 pandemic. They want the governor to bring lawmakers back next month. The Democratic caucuses in both the House and the Senate and the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus outlined their agenda Tuesday morning. They are calling for a ban on chokeholds, racial profiling, and no-knock warrants. They also want no-excuse absentee voting for the November election due to the pandemic.
Indiana is one of only 16 states which require people to state a reason for why they want to vote absentee. It's time to end that. We saw many crowded polling locations along lines during the primary because Hoosiers were concerned about this arbitrary deadline that we have, that their absentee ballot has to be received by noon on election day. And so part of our proposal in special session would be to extend that out to 6 o'clock. There's no reason why we can't add an additional 6 hours on the end of election day and allow all votes to be counted.
Governor Holcomb said that he would look at the recommendations. He also said that Republicans who hold a majority in both the House and the Senate would also have a say in a need for a special session. At 5:49, let's get a check of our forecast right now with Todd Clausen. Hey, Todd, what can we expect right now as we're heading out on the roads?
Yeah, still very wet roadways all across central Indiana, Lauren, as we deal with this big cluster of rain that's moving off towards the east. And now we're starting to see a few isolated thunderstorms flare up just north of Terre Haute as well. So the weather pattern is just very unsettled throughout the day today. And I think I need to keep rain in all day parts. But just know we're not going to be dealing with big clusters like we are right now of some storms, but rather more isolated storms later on this afternoon. Some heavy rainfall over here in the Newcastle area, into Hagerstown, down to Louisville, Cambridge City. This does impact both Interstate 69 there as it makes its way from Madison into Delaware County, and then I-70 through much of Henry County. Down to the south, picking up a few lightning strikes in the Franklin area. Raphael reported hearing that up towards Greenwood as well. A couple lightning strikes as well down here now, once again in south of Columbus over to Nashville. A couple more down as you work your way towards Story, Indiana, and then Bloomington starting to see the end end of the rain. So as we continue to work our way throughout the course of the morning, we'll see this big batch of rain move out, but this is a pretty good storm making its way now into the Rockville area. What we have going on is there's a front that's just draped right across the state of Indiana, and we have these waves of rain coming through. This first wave here near Cleveland now, that went through last night right before midnight. We're dealing with the current wave of rain, and then you see more back off to the southwest, and they're all basically just going here off towards the northeast. So throughout the day today, we'll have these waves of rain coming through, and then this afternoon we'll have more in the way of isolated storms flaring up during the peak heating of the day. Now, I do think we'll see some sunshine once this initial wave goes through this morning, but the more sunshine we see, that's the more fuel for these storms. They'll be around later on this afternoon. As far as severe weather goes, on the left side of your screen, you see that area of green. That is where we have a marginal risk for severe weather put out by the Storm Prediction Center. Just like yesterday, the main threat would be damaging winds and also the potential for some localized flooding. Temperatures right now are sitting in the 60s and 70s. Temperatures today getting into the low to mid 80s later on this afternoon, making for a seasonable day temperature-wise. We'll just be dodging these storms off and on. Some more storms possible tomorrow, but they should be less numerous than today. Then a great stretch of summer weather Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with temperatures in the 80s to low 90s. Dry conditions for the most part and just a touch of humidity. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Let's take a look right now at traffic. And as you mentioned, we do have the wet roads out there, and you can really see the rain flying up from the cars moving across our screen right here on the southwest side. This is I-465 and Man Road. Traffic is traveling up to speed. It's picking up at this early hour. No crashes or major delays to slow down your commute, though. So just use caution out there. Watch for ponding as you're heading to work this morning. Raphael?
So, Lauren, our producer, Kona, loves the story, so I'm going to read it as she wrote it right there on the teleprompter. Keanu Reeves is an actor, a musician, a film producer, and now he wants to add comic book writer to his many, many accomplishments. So you see, Reeves teamed up with a New York Times best-selling graphic novelist to produce a 12-issue comic book. Now, this is called Berserker, but it's spelled B-R-Z-R-K-R. It's about a violent demigod who's been wandering the earth searching for answers about his existence. Reeves says he's loved comics since he was a kid, and they've been a significant influence on him artistically. He also says this project is, quote, a dream come true. The first issue comes out in print and digital on October the 7th, and Kona, the producer, we will get you that comic book just for you.
All right, Raphael. Well, thunderstorms may have woken you up this morning. You can download the Storm Shield app always to get live radar wherever your day may take you. It's right to your phone. The time right now is 5:53 here on Good Morning Indiana. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It is 5:56. So, Raphael, I know you love the Yankees. Todd loves the Mets, and I love the Cubs. Unfortunately, we'll have to cheer on our teams from home. Major League Baseball teams will be playing to empty stadiums this season, all due to the coronavirus pandemic.
And because I am a true Yankees fan, boo to the Boston Red Sox. Just had to say that. So this morning, Heinz wants to bring some of the Take Me Out to the Ballpark experience, I won't sing the song, to your living room as you watch the games from home. So it is giving away 200 stadium ketchup kits. Each kit includes a stadium-sized ketchup dispenser, which holds nearly a gallon of ketchup. They also include hot dog trays, a foam finger, and a coupon for hot dogs. What a deal. You can get in on the game at HeinzStadiumKetchup.com to sign up for all of that to put in your home. Hey, Todd, this morning I'm a little distracted as I'm hearing thunder rolling through our studio here in Johnson County. It's been pretty active since 4:30 this morning when I did not need an alarm clock.
No, here, I'll zoom into you down here in Franklin, Raphael, and there's your lightning strikes, as you can see, near Trafalgar, as well as Nineveh to the south, so that's likely the one you're hearing there over by the Trafalgar area. And as far as other locations here across central Indiana, again, we're dealing with this cluster of storms moving through. There's a stronger storm back near the Greenfield area and some lightning down towards Seymour as well. It's going to be a pretty active day of weather for us. We'll talk about it in more detail coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues at 6 o'clock. Stay with us. We hope to see you then.